Does mindset really matter? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to do that by looking at a study you probably never heard of, but it's a little bit famous. So let me talk to you about what happens. Let's run a scenario. This actually happened to me. I had a group of 30 people who were all from a church, and I was training them for free. I had a meal delivery service provide their fuel, their food, and they all did the same workouts at the same time. So they were all basically doing the exact same thing for 12 weeks. Now, in that group, some people lost over 30 pounds. 2 people gained weight. Wasn't a lot, but they gained weight. And they believed that they followed the plan. Keep this in mind. How can people doing the same thing, eating about the same amount of food, training the same way, have such different results? Well, it could be many things. But let's talk about the power of mindset. What was interesting with this group was I could talk to them. I actually trained them. I was with them every morning at 5:30 a.m., Monday through Friday. So what happened? Well, when I talked to them, you start to understand what they believe about the world, what they believe about their bodies, what they believe about eating a certain way. Their beliefs about food, exercise, about stress, about life itself, their beliefs about themselves were really the main difference in this group. Now, it blew my mind, and this is going back 12 years now, more than 12 years, 14 years. And so at that point, I was always interested in mind-body research. I'm interested in all research because I'm interested in the truth. I want to know how to best serve, how to best create life for myself and for others. But then at this point, I went deep. I started reaching out to the researchers. I started doing all these things. And this one study I'm going to share with you today really caught my attention the first time I heard about it. And I think about it very frequently. And hopefully, it shifts your mindset. It creates a higher priority. Because really, to achieve anything, not just better health and the body that you're proud of, but anything in life, if you break it to its simplest possible units, what are the things that really move the needle? You need 2 things. You need a strategy. You need an effective plan that you can sustain, not something you only do for a week or 2, because that's not going to do anything. But once you have that effective plan, once you know the principles to apply, the rules of the game, so to speak, you need the mindset to carry through. And that's where beliefs come in. That's where your identity. I am the type of person that loves to sweat, that loves to train. Compared to, I'm the type of person that hates exercise. Oh, I can't stand to sweat. 2 different worlds. And you can predict their future in terms of their fitness, right? So let's dive into this study. This was done at Stanford. The lead researcher here is a student of the legendary Harvard and Yale researcher, Ellen Langer. This student is Aaliyah Crum. She does great work. Now, this study we'll call it the milkshake study for simplicity. And what they did was they created a milkshake, like it was an ice cream milkshake, a regular milkshake, and this shake had 2 types. So they would have the groups come in and they would measure these participants, and they were measuring something called ghrelin. Ghrelin is known as the hunger hormone. So when you have a big meal and your body lowers ghrelin levels, and then you feel satisfied, and so you don't need to eat, and you're not having cravings now. When you have like a snack, and pay attention here because this will teach you a lot if you're a snacker. If you have a snack and it's it doesn't fill you up, you're not satisfied, ghrelin doesn't go down. So now you're still hungry, and this can lead to cravings, especially later in the day. So there's a danger in snacking. So ideally, each time you eat, just based off of this, right, you would eat a meal, not a snack, that makes you feel satisfied. Later on, I'm going to share with you research, like certain foods that make you feel more satisfied. but the plan I provide you will do that as well. So we know that ghrelin's the hunger hormone. And then when we eat enough, it goes down, we feel satisfied, we can carry out our day. When we eat but not enough, the body doesn't feel satisfied because ghrelin didn't go down. Now the other interesting thing is when you have a more sufficient meal, and that ghrelin goes down, that then signals the metabolism to rev up, according to Leocrum. And then, but if you have a snack, that doesn't occur to the same degree, obviously, right? And so what did they do? Well, they made the milkshake, and they had 2 shakes. One, they put a label on it, and the label said this. It said Sensa, 0% fat, 0 added sugar, guilt-free satisfaction, 104 calories. Now the other shake was called Indulgence. And on the label it said incredibly rich and indulgent treat, decadence you deserve, 620 calories. And so they would have the participants sit in a room with this shake without drinking it, just looking at it. For a prolonged period of time, by the way. It seemed very long to me. It was like 15 or more minutes. So they're just sitting there looking at this thing, and so they're letting the body respond to these words, to this label. So labels are not just labels. They evoke a set of beliefs. Keep that in mind. And so then they measured their ghrelin before and after, their hunger hormone. So what do you think happened whenever they drank the Sensa shake, which said it was 104 calories? Well, ghrelin didn't go down very much. What about the Indulgence shake, the one that said 620 calories and that it was going to taste incredible? Also, the ingredients, by the way, were very different. When you read the ingredients on the Indulgence shake, it was made from ice cream, and the other one was made with like powder or something like that. And so these all played in, and they looked at this, they read this, they thought about it, and then they consumed it, and then they measured their ghrelin again. The group that had the Indulgence shake decreased ghrelin 3-fold. So their ghrelin levels, their hunger hormone levels after they drank the Indulgence shake was 3 times lower. And you're like, of course, you just told us how it works. If you eat more and you feel more satisfied, that's what's going to happen, right? Here's the twist. The shakes were the same. It was the same shake in 2 different bottles with different labels, because labels are not just labels. They evoke a set of beliefs, and then we start to tell a story about it, because we live in stories. Our beliefs affect our physiology. So your beliefs change your metabolism. So at first, they believed, hey, I'm having this diet drink. It's super low calories. When I have diet stuff, I'm always hungry. That's a belief that they may be telling themselves, right? Now, when they had the Indulgence one, like, man, this is going to be really filling, and they really enjoy it. It changed their state. Who do you think was more excited? The people when they had the Indulgence shake, or were they more excited when they had the diet shake, the Sensa shake? Obviously, you know the answer. Now, the shake actually had 300 calories in it. They were drinking the same exact thing, yet their physiology was completely different. So what does this tell us? Well, it tells us a bunch of things. But the big one is your mindset matters. Your beliefs not only affect your physiology when you eat, your beliefs matter in every domain of your life. In your relationships. And there's studies on this, and I'm going to go through these more and more with you, because if you don't get this, you're going to be those people in that group that actually don't get the results, that put out effort, or they just don't do it. They don't follow through. So if you find yourself not following through on the plan, you want to check your mindset. What do you believe about food? What do you believe? Like, I have a bunch of clients that eat chocolate every day. That's part of their program. And they do great. They are all making results. They're all getting results. One, chocolate isn't really bad for you. It's how much chocolate you eat and what else you eat throughout the day. But chocolate has nutrients in it. And so chocolate is good for you. But if all you ate was chocolate, that wouldn't be effective probably, right? So your nutrients matter. So the plan does matter. There is a science of transformation. So I'm not saying that doesn't matter. I'm not just saying to think and just be like, it's working, it's working, it's working. I'm saying follow your plan as best you can. Don't try to be perfect, because in order to get results, all you got to do is create a stimulus and then provide the body with the rest and the raw materials for it to adapt to that stress. And then over time, you start to build muscle. New dysfunctional cells get removed. They get replaced with newer, healthier cells. And this is happening again and again and again. And so you've got to ask yourself with this. Injuries are a really great example. People have beliefs about their bodies. They believe, like some people have a belief that, hey, my body's resilient. This thing never lets me down. I can do anything. I can eat a bucket of nails for breakfast and I feel great. And then there's other people that are in fear about their bodies because at some point they may have had an injury or they had something going on, some sort of imbalance that where they had discomfort, and then they kept talking about it, they kept thinking about it, they kept meditating upon it, and it became a belief. It became a story that they lived out. And then it becomes an identity, which is the strongest belief that drives all behavior. So you start to think like, oh, I don't want to do that one exercise because it hurts my knee. I have a bad knee. Do you see what I'm getting at here? Now, if this upsets you when you hear it, you know this is a factor that is affecting you. I can tell you that right now, because it's beliefs that are faulty, false beliefs, are part of the ego. And the ego, we'd call this the lamb, right? The ego wants to survive. So whenever you challenge it, there will be resistance. And what you resist persists. But the beauty in that, getting a little angry with me when you're hearing this, is that you know that's what you need to focus on. And so when you know where to direct your energy, you can do something about it. But of course, you have free will. You can choose to just live in pain. You can choose anything you want. I'm simply presenting you with information, and then it's up to you to decide what you want to do. Now, this is one study. There are tons of studies on this. And so say you're doing everything. You feel like you really take good care of yourself. You have that checklist. Like, am I eating enough food? Am I giving my body enough nutrient-dense food? Am I drinking enough water? Do I get enough sleep? Am I getting enough omega-3 fatty acids? Am I getting enough protein? That's a huge one. Am I getting enough love and connection in my life? That's a really important one. Or are you living more in fear? Do you worry a lot? Because worry is basically, I heard a quote from someone with a crazy name. It was a monk name. I can't pronounce it, so I don't want to butcher it, but the quote was beautiful. And it said, Robert Downey Jr. actually repeated it. That's how I learned it. And so, but the quote was, worrying is like praying for something you don't want. And when you look at the science, it's actually true. Wherever you place your attention grows, it strengthens, it expands. Your spiritual currency is two things: your attention and time. If you wanted to add another one, it would be your energy, which would be your emotional states. But the thing is, your attention, what you focus on, creates the way you feel. So you could separate just in those two things. So the great resources we have are our attention and energy and the amount of time we have, which we all have the same amount of time. And so you got to ask yourself, how does this affect me in different areas of my life? So let me tell you what some of the things that have been studied on this, just at Stanford alone. But there's other studies at many other universities, but Harvard, Yale, and Stanford, these are the ones that I'm sharing with you most often in these CoachCast. But think about this. Your mindsets and belief affect your food, how you metabolize food. Also, your beliefs about stress. What does it take for you to feel stress? Stress is another name for fear. What does it take for you to get angry? What are your beliefs about what does it take for you to feel sad or depressed? Now, some people feel that all the time. Other people never feel it. What's the difference? Is it genetic? No, we know genetics. In fact, there's studies on mindset and how it affects your epigenetic expression. And so you'll notice when I do a DNA test and I go through the results with you, I don't scare you with it because there's nothing to be afraid of. Those are your body's preferences and tendencies. Your daily decisions, your lifestyle determines what genes are expressed and which ones are not. What genes are turned on, what genes are turned off. So what you eat affects that. Your beliefs affect that. All these things have this impact. But we have to go in with an accurate representation of what's real. And our five senses don't tell us the truth. When we're in fear, it exaggerates, it blurs reality. And what, do we overreact when we're in fear? Yes, of course we do. We often underreact too. But when you're in love-based emotional states, maybe it's appreciation or gratitude, maybe it's courage, maybe it's joy or passion. It could be anything, any positive emotional state, we can see clearly. Colors are brighter. We can make better decisions from that place. And this is all true. There's science that shows this, but we all know when we're in that place, when we're centered and we're aligned with our heart and our head, then the actions we take are fruitful, they're productive, they're useful, and they don't harm you and they don't harm others. And that's really where I want to get to you with this. I want you to really make this a priority because it is, to me, from my experience over the last 30 years, the single most important thing. I've been able to make a program that works for a long time. That's not difficult. If anyone wanted to learn that, you could go out and in a year or two know how to do that, right? But what's the difference? How do you get someone to follow through on it? You got to change their behavior. They need to become the type of person that loves this shit. At first, you just want to get them to enjoy it, to like it by linking up with a goal, with a vision, with their North Star. Then, when I say like, hey, smile while you're doing a burpee, for instance. Why is that? Because when you smile, it triggers a part of your brain that produces more serotonin and dopamine, and now you're linking up pleasure with doing something difficult. Now, that's with exercise, but that carries over to all difficult things. So when a problem arises, how do you handle it? If you're the type of person that has wired up difficult things, challenges, with pleasure, you become a leader. And that's my goal for everybody, for you to be your highest and best self. Now, I obviously utilize training, nutrition, supplementation, that lifestyle as a vehicle because we all need it. But today has been all about how the mindset and our beliefs, the stories we tell, affect how we metabolize food, but also our beliefs about stress, our beliefs about exercise, our beliefs about, or say someone's diagnosed with a disease of some sort like cancer, is their beliefs about their treatment. Do they believe it's going to work? Do they believe that this diagnosis is a catastrophe or is it an opportunity? Is this the end or is it a new beginning, a new chapter of life? Also, your beliefs about your body just in general. Is this body capable or do you think it's working against you? Your beliefs about your symptoms. What does that mean to you? So when I feel soreness in my body, I know exactly what that means to me. I know that that's an indicator that I challenge my body. I stimulate it. Now it means I need to fuel it up. I need to give it the raw materials, the water, the protein, an adequate amount of fuel, of calories. And I need to make sure I get rest, a normal amount of rest, nothing crazy. And that I know that the body adapts to anything, because it does. You would not be here listening to this right now if your body has not healed from everything you've thrown at. Now, if you feel things in your body, if you wake up and you say, oh, I feel this, because when you wake up, you haven't moved in a long time. Your body, blood flow needs to get around. Things need to happen. You're warming up. It's like you just turned on a computer. It takes a second, right? You're turning on the world's most amazing machine ever created that self-regulates. In fact, those that don't even take care of it, that drink, that smoke, that, have negative thoughts most of their lives, have terrible beliefs, and it still lasts 7 to 8 decades. It's incredible. So your beliefs about your body, and beliefs just about the human body in general. Like I have beliefs, like I know what your body is capable of. Your beliefs will affect that, right? But I see you, my goal as your coach is I see you through the eyes of God, the eyes of unconditional love, of infinite possibility and potential. Because if I don't, I can't help you, honestly. No one can. So if someone's judging you, like I will never feed a lie. So if someone says, oh, I can't lose weight. I was like, why do you say that? What makes you believe you can't lose weight? Well, I've tried everything. As soon as I say that, we all know you guys are more advanced, right? You know that's bullshit. You haven't tried everything. Because there's certain principles that apply to everyone. I've never met a person that when they truly lived it, did not get the result. It's always been the mindset that held them back. Anyone can build muscle. Anyone can burn fat. Anyone can get healthier. And you're the type of person that will actually take the time to listen to this. So you're in that top 1 to 3% in the world that's open to these ideas. Now, if I went on mainstream media and talked about this, they'd be like, this guy's out of his mind. Well, no, I'm completely in the mind and utilizing it. And you are too. But I'm here to remind you of what's true. That mindset matters. And it appears that mind creates matter. Now, before you just shut down and be like, that's bullshit, this is all craziness, I would like to tell you I've had a unique experience of my life. I've always been surrounded by champions. Like my little league coaches all were professionals and champions at what they did. Some were in the Hall of Fame even at that stage. I've trained, my father was a world champion pit fighter, like a bare knuckle type fighter. And I've been surrounded this, and as I coach people, I somehow been blessed to attract very successful people. Now what happens though, when you get someone that's like that and you do a good job, they refer their inner circle, like their family, their friends. And what you soon find is they are very different from those people. And the difference isn't genetics. They're related. They have very similar genes. What is it? It's their mindsets, their beliefs that allow them to access all their resources, all their skills, all their capabilities, all the possibilities. While the other people who are very close to them, they don't have those same beliefs and they live limited lives in a lot of ways. And they often don't follow through when they have an idea or a goal or a dream. And so, how do you use this? Well, you have to have a level of awareness. The first step in changing the story, changing the mindset, changing the belief is to become aware of it. And so there are 3 prerequisites which lead to something called self-observation. So the first step is self-awareness. You have to start noticing things. Ellen Langer would call this mindfulness. And what is mindfulness? Well, she has a beautiful definition of it. Noticing things that you don't normally notice. So if you are in the same room, same car, wherever you're listening to this, right now, if it's safe to do, just notice something you don't usually notice. That is what mindfulness is. Because if you want to identify the limitation, you want to notice it, right? And we're really good at that. Like we have a pain in the body, ow, and we start focusing on, why is this? And we start to self-analyze and diagnose, and we create this big story. We write a movie about it. But the problem is we didn't set the intention of overcoming it. We just talked about it a lot because it's there and we feel it. It's a sensation, right? I've been guilty of this. I never have these things now since I've done this, and that's why I want to share it with you. And so you have to have that self-awareness. You don't know what you don't know. No one does. The second thing is self-honesty. If you look at the scientific literature on this, the human brain, especially when we're in fear or pain or discomfort or stress, as we call it, all the same thing, it lies to us. Because again, when we're in fear or pain or stress, it exaggerates, it blurs. We don't have accurate information. We tend to overreact or shut down and underreact. So self-honesty, and that's we want to say, is this really true? We want to get to what's real here, and we have to make sure we're in that state in order for these things to work. So to be aware, you need to be in a state of at least appreciation and gratitude, or just curiosity. Like, hey, I'm curious. What's really happening here? What do I need to notice here? And so you shift it. So you have self-awareness, self-honesty, and the last one is 100% personal responsibility. You are the creator of your circumstance. You are not a victim of it. Now, some things can happen that are not your fault, but they are still your responsibility. And if you don't take responsibility, you become the victim. And the victim is powerless. It's focused on pity. It's like, oh, woe is me. I can't do anything. I'm weak. I'm helpless. I'm hopeless. And then people will give them attention. And then they will be like, oh, and then that starts to create a pattern. That starts to create a belief. Like, hey, when I act weak, I get connection. But it doesn't serve you in any way. And eventually, people are not going to keep doing that unless they're in that same place. And so you're going to attract people that are like that. And that's not going to help either, as you know. So to create this thing called self-observation, and to achieve anything in life, these are the 3 prerequisites. Self-awareness, and these are skills. We're not born with them. We develop them through intention and attention. Deciding I want to develop it, knowing what that looks like, having a vision, a purpose, knowing how you need to show up for it. And then attention is noticing and focusing, concentrating. And so the sun shines on the earth and it helps create life. Without it, we all die. Everything does. It's the perfect distance. That's a miracle. Now, if I take a magnifying glass and let one of the rays go through it, it will concentrate that thing that is life-affirming and create fire. And you could create a forest fire, or you could create fire to cook food to sustain life. So I share that because when you concentrate on something, when you get clear on what you want, and clear that the goal is self-mastery, because that is what we're responsible for. We are responsible to be our best, to give our best, and to create value in the world. And when we all do that, we realize that we're not separate after all. We're all part of the whole. That everything is connected, that we are one. And so that part of you that knows that is the higher self. I call that the lion or the lioness. And so there is a part, like I remember when my grandma died, and I know I shared this before. I was a little kid, and we were at the hospital, and she's hooked up to the machines, and then, said like, hey, she's gone. I'm like, no, grandma's right here. And they explained to me the EKG and the EEG, the electrical activity of the body. And when there's no more electricity in the body, that's when my grandma went to heaven. So that's what they told me. And so I was like, wow, so you're not your body. I never forgot that. There is a part of you that is timeless, that electric spark, the spark of God. That's your soul, your spirit, if you want to call it that. That part of you, though, doesn't die. The body, we change bodies, but we have this part of us that is the observer. The part of you that's observing that you have thoughts. That part of you that's observing that you have a body. That part of you that's observing through your 5 senses. That is the observer. That is the part where when we're living in the material world, the world of limitation, and this is getting a little advanced, I would say, but if you're listening, you're here with me. You'll understand this. And tell yourself, I get this. I may not be clear on it now, but it's coming to me. And so what it is this. The higher self is the part of you that is the extension of love, wisdom, and power. It is your highest potential, your highest and best self. It is love-based in nature. So anytime you're in fear and stress, you're not there. You're disconnected. Now, we're in this 3D material world. When we're in fear and stress, we are looking through our eyes like first-person perspective. So think of this. There is a lion nose to nose with you, and it's not happy, and it's breathing hard, and it's salivating. You can feel its hot breath on your face. In that moment, you're going to go into fight or flight if you're alive, and you're going to freak out, right? That makes sense. But I'm using this example to show you what the observer is. But now say you're on a helicopter way above and you're observing this happening. You're like, man, that person's in trouble. What can we do? Hey, I got a rock, throw a rock at the lion, try to help, or lower the helicopter, right? You can think intelligently. You can make effective decisions. You can take intelligent action. So when we get into fear, we have to remember these things. We need to have a story, a belief, an identity that shifts us out of fear into a resourceful state of being, a powerful state of being, where you can take action. Not just be busy, but take effective action. That is the observer, that is the higher self, and that is what we call the lion. And it is love-based in nature, and that is for all of us. The ego wants to say, I'm special. The ego wants to tell you all these limitations and that you need to compete and be better than other people. It compares you to everything else. And comparison is the thief of joy, my friends. So today, in this CoachCast, I hope you learned that it's not just what you do, it's what you believe, the stories you tell yourself and tell others again and again and again. Because you can follow an effective plan and not get the result if you don't have the right mindset. And if you're not convinced yet, pay attention to it. Start to observe what's happening around you. And notice, where is the limitation? What would I have to believe in order to feel this frustration or this discomfort or this sadness, whatever the limitation is? But the feelings are the feedback. It tells us, what story are we telling? What do we believe here? If we have a negative belief, there is a limitation there more than likely, unless there's real danger. So today, I hope you are more interested in this than ever, you're more curious than ever, and you're open-minded to a greater possibility. And you know that you were the creator of your circumstance. You were never the victim of it. Lions, not lambs. You tap into the real you, but you have to retrain yourself. The way you retrain yourself is you wake your ass up in the morning and you say, I am here for a reason and a purpose. And it's bigger than my moods. It's bigger than the difficulties of the day. I am here to live like a lion, not the fear of a lamb.